Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time you're watching this, it's good to see you. And thanks for stopping by the channel. So I just watched the WandaVision series finale and I have some thoughts. These thoughts are unedited and unscripted because, well, I just want to get them out there while I can before, the algorithm is flooded by everything. I'm going to be making 2 videos later about it. One video just on Wanda and one video on the show in general. On the one hand, when it comes to Wanda's story, the story of trauma, the story of pain, the story of dealing with grief and loss, I thought Wanda had a satisfying finale for her. I thought her ending was very satisfying. She came to terms with what had happened to her, and now she's moving on to try to not recreate her life, but find her own life, because the biggest thing with Wanda in the MCU is that she really hasn't had her own life. She's gone from this hurt young woman working for Hydra, then she went from working with the Avengers after she lost her brother, and then she kind of just went around from place to place after losing Vision. She really didn't have a life, she really didn't have a home, and well, that's what led to WandaVision. So in terms of that story of her moving on, I thought that was very well done. But what feels anticlimactic is not that we didn't get Reed Richards, it's not that we didn't get Magneto, it's that it felt like the subplots of the supporting characters didn't feel wrapped up at all. And I get that, it's not their story, they don't need their subplots wrapped up, but in the same token, if you weren't going to wrap them up, you maybe shouldn't have set them up as well as you did. And I think the best example of that is Monica Rambeau. Monica Rambeau is literally a scene stealer. In a good way, in a very good way. I fucking love Monica Rambeau whenever she's on screen. She is charismatic, she is compelling, she is thicker than a Snicker. I love to see her on screen, but her story is so compelling and it's so endearing that honestly, after I got to know her, I wanted more of her. And now that I realize in retrospect, I wasn't going to get more of Monica that I wanted. I wasn't going to get more details about her mother Maria or what was going on with her relationship with Carol. What about her trauma? What about her PTSD? How was she feeling after the blip? I wasn't going to get any of that in WandaVision because it wasn't for WandaVision. It was set up for Captain Marvel 2. And I kind of feel like that structure, it set up an expectation for me for this finale that I just wasn't going to get. And I don't think the writers did this intentionally. I just think this was an oversight on their part. And I can't blame them for that. I can't. But I do feel like now in retrospect, looking back on it, some of the subplots shouldn't have been in the show if they weren't going to go anywhere, even if I enjoyed them at the time. Most of the stuff with Sword, that was literally unnecessary. It had nothing to do with WandaVision, because the main conflict of WandaVision was Wanda's trauma and pain, and that revolved more around, well, WandaVision, and eventually the antagonist Agnes, which was the Scarlet Witch setup, which in turn will be dealt with in Doctor Strange 2. Which is another subplot that really isn't dived into deeper. It's not a bad thing, it's really not, but I feel like that some of the sequel setups, the fact that we didn't get anything more from them is what hurts it, because so much time in retrospect was dedicated to it. The Scarlet Witch, Monica's powers, and the whole thing with Quicksilver is just kind of jarring now, because if there was no plans for that to be like the X-Men Quicksilver, why even put him in the show? By putting Evan Peters in the show and not like, telling people, oh, this is just a fun casting thing, it's not the X-Men Peter. I know it goes against spoiler rules, but well, come on, you're gonna get people to start theorizing and that will create expectations in their head. And again, I'm not blaming the writers for my expectations or anyone's expectations. I just will say that it will create expectations that are impossible to reach. So looking back on WandaVision, I think it was a good show. I really did care about Wanda's story and I thought it was good. I thought in that regard, WandaVision ended as best as it could have. But I think the subplot setups that are going to be delivered in different Marvel stories, another show, another movie, another whatever to get that finished story, I feel like it hurt WandaVision in retrospect. It's not a bad thing, it brings an ending that could have been nice and tight if they didn't exist in the first place to a more, a kind of B. It's not a bad ending, it's not a Dexter ending, but well, I guess we all just have to get used to the fact that the MCU MCU is just the biggest, most expensive running TV show, and every single separate story is connected, so at least it will be told. It will be told. That's good. I think that in retrospect it does hurt WandaVision, but at least those stories will be told. So I guess my final thoughts are, I like WandaVision. I really did. I liked the show in general. I thought it was very well written, but I do think the structure of the show, when it came to things like Sword, the fake Peter, and at least not resolving any of Monica's subplot, I think it did hurt the show in general. I really hope going forward they don't do that again. I mean, they are going to do it again because it's Marvel. They love to do that. It wasn't a great ending, but it was a good ending, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Anyway, thank you guys for showing up. It looks like our time is at an end. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, smash the like button. And if you want to see more videos from me, hit subscribe because I upload videos weekly. Alright, I'll see you guys.